Well, hello, everybody. This is Kevin Shortell. I'm the Director of Training and Research for NoteSchool. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and being here with us today. I have, of course, Mr. Eddie Speed, founder and CEO of NoteSchool and Colonial Capital and Colonial Funding Group with me as well. Eddie, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing just great. I know we've got a lot to cover in this in a relatively short period of time to do it. So rather than a big introduction, I know these folks have met you. They've seen you at some point. And we put together this whole presentation for them to give them a good idea of where these 5 niches are. So I'll turn it over to you and let you run with it.
Well, that's great, Kevin. So what we're going to talk about today is some note smart people, what they see more of than other people. And there's most everybody that would be on this webinar have been around the ideas of notes, and you've met people that have bought notes or created notes and different things. But we wanted to kind of take it to a different level today and talk about some note smart things that we see people do. And so it becomes with being deal architects. And a deal architect is, it's an example of like what we did the other day at the Quest class, where you're showing Brooks and Kevin, you remember that case study well. I mean, he bought a note, he collected some payments, he sold the front end of the note, kind of knowing it could pay off early, but not knowing when. And he got lucky and it paid off in less than a year. And all of a sudden he's just recouped all his money and takes a fairly small investment. His money's tied up for not very long and really doubles his money. And people say, well, man, that's great. How can I do that? And the way you do it is you're a deal architect. That's how you do it. And so in order to do that, Kevin, I think you have to recognize market voids and solve problems. That's the key thing. Really, entrepreneurs do recognize market voids and solve problems. And so to be a note entrepreneur, either passively or actively, you kind of have to do that. So, all right. So what we want to talk about today and what we alluded to when we invited you is there are 5 opportunities, 5 best secrets and opportunities. One is reperforming notes. One is non-performing loans on the low price band. One is what we refer to as retail seller financing. One of them is multi-note seller financing. And the last one is turnkey seller financing. And so one of these strategies is buying defaulted loans that aren't paying. And the other 4 of these strategies is relates to, buying assets that are unrecognized. So let's roll up, Kevin, and talk about kind of one of these and how it all evolves and morphs into the idea one at a time. So first of all, what we refer to as reperforming notes. These are typically going to be from institutions. It could be from Citigroup. It could be from Bank of America. And these are loans that were in default. And now they've been modified and they're paying again. All right. So you got it paying again. And many times when they're modified, they were written at really low interest rates, 2 or 3% interest. And what that means for you, Kevin, when you buy these assets is that means that you're going to then buy these loans at a pretty good discount because you're going to buy it at more to earn more of a return on your investment than the interest rate on the note. And when you do that, that's going to turn out to be a good thing. All right, so Kevin, let's look and see what we've got here as an example.
Yeah, because a lot of people think you look at some of these houses and you look at some of the prices and they start to question what the housing might look like. And there's a typical house right there of an actual deal that one of our students have done.
Kevin, that asset was on a training webinar for a NoteSchool student last Monday night. Okay, so this is as fresh as it can be. This is a real asset that a student's working on right now. And I just had the team that runs a lot of the state case studies for us capture this off, and I said I want to show this to my friends, with my Quest friends. All right, so the unpaid balance was 107,449. It was rewritten, modified interest rate at 2% interest. Monthly payment is 372, and Kevin, it's a long term remaining on this note.
Looks like one of those HAMP modifications where they stretched out the term and lowered that interest rate.
Yep, not 395. And this customer is in bankruptcy, but it's what we call a performing bankrupt. And there's some other opportunities. I just don't have a long time to get into it today, but I like performing bankrupts. And this is one of those assets. If they don't pay, you can start foreclosure action. If they do pay, you're basically getting a check from a trustee. Can you live with that, Kevin?
Exactly.
Yeah. Current value on this asset's $150,000. This happens to be a house that's in the Atlanta area. And this asset cost, Kevin, this note is going to cost about $48,000. Backed
by a $150,000 house.
And the 107, by God, if it paid off early, I think you're good. So you earn a good return on your money, and then you probably have the upside of it paying off early, which means that if it pays off early with that much of a discount, you're going to earn a higher return than you thought you were going to earn. And Kevin, I would buy a trailer truckload of assets like this.
As many as you could in that one, you bet.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the next idea, which is non-performing loans, NPLs. You hear them referred to as in all the DS News and Housing Wire and Realty Track and all the places that they frequently write about this business. And these loans are bought at a deep discount. So non-performing is cost about 30 to 65% of the property value. 30% of the property value, Kevin.
Yep, that's you can't buy anywhere cheaper than that. I mean, that's really, I agree with you here. It's the last frontier of distressed property pricing.
Yeah, there's no question. It's why that everybody's talking about notes today is the last frontier. How do you buy deep discount? It's got to be non-performing notes. It can't be the property itself. And this is a seriously underserved market. About $20 billion in non-performing notes were traded just in the last 12 months. And we don't see anything that tells us that that's not going to do at least that volume in the next 12 months. So now the timing is now in the market, and acting on this opportunity to buy non-performing is another area. So once again, when we're showing you these options, we are fully acknowledging you probably aren't going to do all of these 5. We want to show you the 5 that we are pursuing and our students are pursuing most successfully. And then you pick 1 or 2 niches, or 1 niche, Kevin, that somebody wants to do and go do that. So,
right.
All right.
If we get these cheap, how do we get out of them?
Yeah, so the three exit strategies to get out of a non-performing note is pretty much going to look like this. You're going to modify the loan, which you just saw an example of, right? You just saw a non-performing loan that was modified. And you can modify it and let them start paying again. You can have them deed it over to you, what's called a deed in lieu of foreclosure, which basically means that they're just signing over the property to the lender. They surrender, so to speak. And then lastly, if you can't do any of the first 2, then obviously you have a legal right to repossess the property, and that's called a foreclosure action. So that's the 3 possibilities that are most likely to happen in a non-performing note.
All right, and the next one is, I know old veterans like you and I haven't seen this much seller financing going on in a long, long time.
Here's what happened, Kevin. We went about 7 or 8 years with no bank financing. 50% of the people that got a mortgage made a mortgage application were turned down. So we had the lowest volume of mortgage origination, particularly in working class real estate, that we've seen, literally probably since the 80s. And as a result of that, we have a big pile of just individual seller finance notes. People have owner finance properties. Now they're collecting a note and they need the money. They want to go do something else with their life and they need the money. So in the 1990s, Kevin, the broker business and the retail note business, literally people that owned a note were getting a letter, 30 to 50 letters a month, 30 to 50 solicitation letters a month of somebody offering to buy their note. So the market was full, and Kevin, you and I were both deep dived into that business in the 90s, dropping direct mail, and you had to be insanely aggressive to go get some of these deals because so many people were fishing in the same pond.
Yeah, there's no question. Some of those letters were yours and mine. There's no question about that. But boy, today that's different, huh?
Yeah, so you look at the market today, and this is probably a stretch to say 1 or 2 letters. I mean, it's the most underserved I have seen doing direct mail, and we just talk about direct mail as an example. There's other methods to market for these notes, but we just use direct mail because it's kind of easy to kind of saw through a litmus test. Maybe 1 or 2 letters a month, maybe. In a lot of markets, they don't get another letter a month other than yours if you're trying to buy a note. So these people don't know where to go sell their note. So what is it, these direct mail to individuals, to sellers, what do they look like? Now, Kevin, let me say this. If you're on the call today and you're wondering about direct mail, or you're doing these strategies and you're going, well, I don't want to do direct mail. Somebody does direct mail and somebody produces the lead. You may be just the investor that buys it from the broker that's creating the deal, right?
Right.
Every deal I'm going to show you next, Kevin, one's on a house, one's on land, one's on light commercial. We're all deals that came to us from a broker. Let's look at them. Here's a little house. $41,761 is the balance. It's a 6% note. Almost $500 a month is the payment. Remaining term is, gosh, what is that? 9 years? Close to it. Yeah. This is a little house in Florida, and it's worth $65,000. That's why it's seller finance, because the bank ain't gonna make a loan on a $65,000 house, Kevin, right?
That's right.
And this note costs $28,500. Wow.
That's a heck of an investment right there.
Yeah. Now, we bought this note, by the way. You say, how do you know it cost that? Because we wrote the check. Now, there was a broker fee in there, so we have additional investment in the broker fee. The next one, Kevin, is kind of unusual because that mobile home is not part of the collateral. That mobile home is not part of the loan, but it's on the land. It's like having a boat on your property, right? So this was 11 acres of land. They owe $18,848, 10.5% interest, payments $236, and there's about 11 years remaining. So the mobile home is not part of the collateral. This is 11 acres of land. Current value on the dirt, not the mobile home, current value is $55,000. 11 acres of land. That's in South Texas, by the way. This asset cost $12,900. All right. So these are notes. These aren't the property. You're buying a note secured by the property, but look at the unpaid balance and look what the note's bought at. People say, why in the world would you do direct mail and mail things? And people have to call you. When you see the price and you see what you're buying, now you understand why somebody's doing direct mail, right? Yeah,
especially when you can automate direct mail today. You know, you can set up direct mail campaigns that just completely go out automatic. You never even see a letter. And you know, when you can do it that way today, because I know 20 years ago when we were doing this, I remember putting a lot of stuff in a lot of envelopes, you know, and you don't have to do that sort of thing today. So this is a nice looking one too.
NoteSchool can show you a variety of ways to access this inventory. Either you do it yourself, we help you figure out how it can be automated, or you could even buy brokered business and somebody else go do it. This
right, have somebody else go find it for you.
The result of a underserved market. Look at this property. This is in New York, Kevin. This is like a bed and breakfast. Okay, they owe $68,000. We're buying this note right now. 4% interest. $573 is the monthly payment. There's about 13 years left on the loan. 153 payments. Property is worth. Did you see that, Kevin? The property is worth $500,000. What is that, 15% loan to value? And we're buying the note at a good discount. We're paying $45,000 for a 68 note. Those are deals, literally, Kevin, I had them pull deals up that we've either just closed in the last couple of weeks or we're in the process of finalizing closing. This is as fresh a story as I can tell you. This isn't some clip art from the internet, and it's not some deal that I closed in 1977. It's just what this week's inventory looked like.
And you find these one-off notes, as we say, but there's also, of course, the multi-note sellers that are out there.
You have the other dimension, the multi-note seller financing. That's a guy, Kevin, that would offer seller financing if he knew how. real estate investors that are selling properties today for under 100 grand consistently had the same problem. Well, I can't get a loan at the bank. Well, my buyer can't get a loan at the bank. Well, I gotta sell it for cash because the buyers, you know, we're getting slow no at the bank, right? So they would sell or finance a property, Kevin, but the issue is they really don't know the recipe. They really don't know how to do this. So someone that would, and then they don't have someone that says, if you'll create notes to this recipe, we'll buy your paper.
Right.
Well, listen, I did this for a lot of companies. I did it for home investors. I did this in the early 1990s for home investors. I did lots of real estate investors. And we have opened up this campaign a lot to say, we're going to show NoteSchool students how to work with real estate investors to create notes so they can earn fee income, or they can create inventory of notes on a recurring basis. Now you're not buying one note from one seller, you're buying many notes from one seller, right?
Right. And once again, nice looking properties. They just happen to be essentially unbankable today, where people can't get financing because of the price points. But when you see some of these assets that are backed by these types of houses and the prices, boy, the opportunities are absolutely there. And investors scoop these things up, and you're absolutely right. They're going to create a note and they're going to move on to the next one, but they need you. They need investors like you to purchase these assets from them. Same thing with investors looking for rental properties. And, you know, this is another huge topic, but lead us into this one a little bit.
So here's what happened. The industry trend after the mortgage market blew up and the stock market blew up is investors started offering to out-of-state investors what we referred to as turnkey rentals. But there's a void, Kevin. Under a certain value, the investors aren't getting a loan at the bank either. Not just consumers, but even the investors. And so there became a big market void here. And because of that, we perfected a technique where we show you how to sell a property on the income approach, selling it for its income value and not just selling it for necessarily what the cash sales in MLS say it's worth. Mm-hmm. And really at a certain dollar amount, everything below that is going to be cash sales. So this is what the most advanced real estate investors are doing today is turnkey. Seller financing what the banks won't. You're seller financing properties because the banks won't. And not because they're bad properties, because, well, really, Kevin, it's because of Dodd-Frank, truth be told, right? Mm-hmm. So the limit in fees and how much you can charge per loan and stuff, and it's based on the size of the loan. That's why we saw the banks wall off what we call low price band financing, really under 100, could be under 80,000, but somewhere in that range. And these are a great deal for out-of-town investors. Kevin, if I were looking at turning turnkey properties, I would target investors living in California, in Colorado, in New York, in Arizona, and in Florida. That would be my top 5 markets. And we have a very quantifiable system that we're showing you how to go accomplish every step of this process. And that's what we cover at the 3-day class, right?
Right. And those buyers don't purchase these types of assets in those states. They're looking for the best opportunities, and that's where we can provide a great opportunity for them. It's on deals that they can't find anywhere else. And you know what? They don't want to spend the money and the time to find them, do they? They want to find somebody who's already done that, and that's a part of this model as well, right?
That's it. They want it done for them, and we've got a formula. We have a ton of experience in this area. We have some faculty that has some insane levels of experience on this topic, and we've put together the financing piece that really nobody else has put together right, which is how to offer seller financing. So what you really find is this: under 100,000, yeah, you can sell it. Let's look at the 3 methods of sale, right? The cost approach. Well, these are 60-year-old houses. The cost approach making sense? You're an old appraiser.
Yeah, that one's not really going to be applicable to these types of houses and these residential homes and such. It doesn't make sense for someone to really come up with a value for that. And more the sales comps. The sales comps are made for people who are buying at retail. That's typically what they are designed for today. And investors look at these as a whole different approach. Investors are looking, look, if I'm going to place money into something and it's going to kick back a cash flow, where can I do that? What's my best opportunity? So they're looking for the income that these properties can produce as well. So more and more of these investors, out-of-town investors, looking to place money into rental real estate, they're looking at that income approach, which is not based on the cash comps. It's based upon how much income that property can provide, and that is the best method.
The reason turnkey property, Kevin, became so popular is investors were seeking investments other than the stock market, and real estate investors realized that selling putting them in the multiple listing service with a realtor and selling them in that way was a dumb way to sell their property. They weren't selling it for retail, they were selling it for wholesale, and that's because the lack of financing meant that all the sales were cash. And that's why the turnkey business lit up, is because it was a market void that providers of rental properties could do the work for the investor, called turnkey, and that became a market change. Now, the niche we added to it was understanding the financing piece. So, Kevin, let's talk about, you're an old appraiser, right?
Right.
So you're very familiar with this concept, highest and best use.
Yep, highest and best use is one of the first things you're always taught about that, and about appraising, and well, really real estate investing and construction, everything. And
right,
it just makes, yeah.
Let's pretend I'm in Uptown in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Uptown is up north of downtown. It's where the pretty people live, Kevin. and so I got all these high rises, right? I got high rises everywhere, and I own a lot. Okay. I own a lot right there. You see that, Kevin? I own that lot, and it's America. I can sell it, by God, to whoever I want to, right?
Right.
Would it make sense for me to put a one-story dental office on that lot?
Heck no, because a property in that location and that use could generate a heck of a lot more income.
Exactly. So highest and best use said that it's not illegal for me to put a one-story dental office on it. It's just dumb, right?
Right.
That's what I see when investors are not using smart deal strategies and selling their properties in some case. Don't let the market dictate to you. You find out the best market niche and you dictate to the market.
Exactly. Tell us how we price these out on this asset, which is another recent one.
This is a real asset from a student. This is in Dayton, Ohio. I know you can't wrap your mind around it, but it's absolutely true. This house rents for $750 a month. And Kevin, on the MLS, because all the sales are cash sales, the realtor says it's worth 40 grand. And you and I have been around this space for years and years, and there's no way that's a $40,000 house. You
right.
agree with that?
It just doesn't make sense, because it's not a $40,000 house if it can generate $750 a month.
So selling it through a realtor for cash is not highest and best use. You agree with that, Kevin?
Exactly.
All right. So with that concept, let's use some deal architecture skills. Now, what you got to understand is we took $750 rent, Kevin, and we took off the appropriate deductions, correct? I mean, we ran a true income value. The net income on this, after we took out the property management fee and taxes and insurance, and the net income on this house is $459. So that's my customer's payment that I'm going to sell or finance for them, because that's their net income, Kevin.
Right. Income after expenses. Right.
So I'm going to pick a term of 6 years. So roll off that term. And then I'm going to pick a fair interest rate. I'm going to say 6%. Now, Kevin, there's some reasons that you and I chose these numbers. And when somebody gets to a class, they're going to have a good, clear understanding about it. But to get to the punchline, then we back into how much we could sell or finance, right? If we pick those terms, we could back into it. We could sell or finance $27,250. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, Kevin, is I'm going to back into a financial modeling where we finance half of the house, they pay for half the house, And when we finance the other half, they're going to use the tenant's income to pay for the other half of the house. So there's the amount we finance, $27,250. They're going to pay $27,250 down, which gets us to a retail value of $55,000. In 6 years, that buyer, because he made a big down payment, has a free and clear house in 6 years. So they make a financial commitment and they pay half down. Now, this investor, Kevin, probably lives in California.
And used to paying 100% down.
Yeah. We're going to
paying full cash for it.
No doubt. And we're going to show you techniques of exactly how to go find this guy, how to position it to him, how to vet it. So we're giving you the punchline, but there's some meat behind this that's pretty critical to the story being right, okay? By the way, Kevin, we're selling this house at a 10% ROI, okay? That is a true fair market income approach for a turnkey property. You agree with that?
Oh, you bet. No question.
So we're not overselling it. We're not doing anything hocus pocus. We're just repositioning how we market the house to highest and best use. So the realtor's cash comps, 40 grand. Selling on the turnkey approach, 55 grand. Okay?
And you're right. There's more involvement, of course, that we would go into, and it would involve some of this, right? all this stuff, from the rent collection to the management, vetting the neighborhood, vetting the tenant, how it's all done properly. We're not skipping over the essentials. We just are giving you the punchline. So when you come to a class, and we're going to reverse engineer this and go back through this in intricate detail, showing you specific examples of here's an asset this will work on, and here's how you do it, and here's all the mechanics. Turnkey investing with owner financing. By the way, Kevin, nobody's doing this except us. Exactly.
Nobody teaches this except us.
Right. And it's taken us years to compile and put all that together and to make all of this work and make it scalable. Yeah. No question about it.
All right. So, Mr. Shortell, you are head of curriculum for all of our live training. Tell me about these classes.
You bet. And you and I have spent a lot of time building these and perfecting these, and it's almost something constant in motion that we're always working on, always keeping current. And that's the name of the game in a live training. So we've put together this 3-day intensive note class training that we call Power of Paper. And we say it's intensive because it does take a very deep dive into all of the aspects of the note business, including just some of the things that we covered today, those 5 different niches. They'll be expanded upon, drilled down, live case studies, actual assets that are currently available in the marketplace. We will drill down into all of those aspects and more. We're going to take some advanced exit strategies. We alluded to exit strategies in the very beginning of this. We'll drill down on all of those, and we're also going to show you how you can mess it up too, right? So we're going to show you both sides of doing this. And I know everybody loves to see those case studies. We use a lot of case studies because you remember them, but they also start to make a lot of sense for you when you can just have a deal laid out right in front of you. So that's a big part of what we do in this 3-day class. And it's called the Power of Paper. We do allow you to bring a guest. So if you have a family member, business partner, anybody like that you can bring with you, want to bring with you, we don't charge any extra for that. In fact, we encourage that. We like to see teams there, business partners, family members there to see the whole picture, because with both of you there and both of you seeing the same information, boy, it's really tough to go home for a training like that and explain all the opportunities that you saw at that particular training. And the next bonus is we've got some on-demand training. In fact, Eddie, you personally put all these together, and it's you doing 14 modules, which is really 3 days of training, if you will, online. And we highly encourage people to take this bonus and go through it before you come to the live training, because this gets down to the brass tacks in the business, the fundamental skills that you'll need, the fundamental techniques of the business. Because again, at the live class, we like to take you to that different level. And on these courses, you will accelerate what you learn at the live training if you take the time and go through that. So we highly encourage that you do that. We have one for the non-performing notes. And there's a different approach when you look at non-performing notes and performing notes. So we also have an additional 12 modules that Eddie, you've all put together for this. Again, going through the fundamental skills, the understanding, the language of the business, but this one pertains to the performing side of the business. So bonuses, one is bringing an additional person. Bonus two is both online courses, the non-performing and the performing class. We do have a third bonus as well, which, you know, Eddie, I think this is one of the most critical components of this, because the industry can deliver so much to people, the passive income, a large sum income, you know, passive income without being a landlord. Real estate, you know, if that's what you're looking to do, it can provide so many different avenues of income and creation of wealth strategies. You really need to sit down with somebody who's got experience that can say, look, of all the things that you've learned, based upon what you've told us, based upon the reason you told us to be here, based upon where you are right now as far as your capability to invest, here's what we think is the best thing for you to do. And we can start to build a plan for you. And we have a whole team that goes out and does these trainings. And we have a couple of gentlemen that are experts at sitting down, figuring out where it is that you are, where you want to go, and what is the best way to approach that in this business. So they'll spend 30 minutes with you, and that's not all at one time. They'll meet with them a couple of times over the weekend, but that's where your one-on-one guidance comes from. And that's where we really can start to map out a personal plan and a personal approach to this. Even as this presentation we're doing today, Eddie, we showed 5 different ways, and for some people they might have looked at that and go, wow, there's so many different things, I don't know if I could do all 5 at one time. Well, you know what, you grow into the business is really what happens there. You have to be exposed to all the different opportunities and then really come down with a personalized plan so that you can implement it. And what you make up also is part of this, as you'll learn, is you start to outsource things as well. You know, we talked about direct mail a little bit, where you can outsource some of those skills. We talked about vendor relationships, where you can outsource collecting the rent. So what you will find is when you combine this personalized plan with outsourcing, all of a sudden now you found the time in which you can pursue this at the level which is best for you. So just as a recap, because I know I gave you a lot there, you've got the live class plus bonuses 1, 2, and 3. 1, bring an extra person, business partner, family member. The online courses for the performing side, but also the non-performing side of the business. And again, we do encourage you to take a look at those first. That's a retail value of $1,997. And what we have is a special that you have put together for them for $997. So $997 for one person, or if you're bringing a partner, it's still $997 for the both of you to attend that as well.
Yeah, the one thing too, Kevin, I wanted to bring up about the bonuses, a couple of things is, first of all, bringing a family member is huge, right? Bringing a family member or a business partner is huge. Now, they have to be affiliated with you, right? It can't be just somebody you met at a meeting somewhere. It's got to be a legitimate business partner or a family member. But the reason that's so critical, Kevin, is because it then gives you both a vision of the business if you work together. And a lot of times it can be, you know, a parent and their grown child, or their growing child, like, you know, college age or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's pretty common. It's very common to see a man and a wife. It's very common to see 2 business partners. And the second thing is these classes that we taught, I taught these classes a few years ago. I'm telling you, I changed them hundreds of times. And so there's a lot of depth that we went in to make sure that we were building some deep background into various aspects of the business. So these are self-paced, and you can zero in on some part of this. If you could get through all of it before you came to class, it'd be great. But don't sweat it if you don't, because these are fundamental things that you're going to go back and use as a reference over and over. You'll have a follow-along book we're going to send you for each on-demand class. And then, as Kevin said, the reality is then we're going to sit down with you with a coach and give you a consultation and talk about how the business works for you. And that's time and resources. That resources could be your time. It could be your experience. It could be who all you're going to get involved in the business. It could be how much capital you're trying to invest, either your retirement account money or your personal investments. Do you want to earn fee income? I mean, all of these things are then, you know, part of the bucket, part of the story that's going to mold together how you're going to pursue this. So it's a big deal that we're thinking through everything that we kind of have experienced from seeing thousands of people come through the system. Now we know their questions and we've able to capitalize it. So Kevin, I like this part here because it kind of tells how they tie together, right?
It really does. And you're exactly right with, you know, if you can't watch the videos and all that, please don't make that something where you go, I'll wait on the class, because we do teach this at all levels. And as you know, Eddie, I look at the educational component, I study how people learn, and we lay this whole training out in a way that regardless of your experience, whether you're a beginner or somebody who's got some real estate experience, or maybe even some note experience under your belt, we will put this together in a way that you've never seen and experienced before. I hear that all the time, because we do look at all these moving parts, the performing notes, the non-performing notes, and the turnkey properties on all of this. So it's not only each topic, it's how they all relate, and how, going back to our first slide, a deal architect understands all these components and then starts to apply different techniques and different strategies in different areas. And that's how all of a sudden you take all these moving parts and you make them work seamlessly, like this diagram.
Perfect. All right, let's talk about how they're going to do this, Kevin.
You bet. We've got a class right out in, well, not too far from the office, right out there in Irving, Texas, coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, right at the airport. So easy to get to. And we've got a very good facility that is going to be just great for everybody. It's a very good training type of facility, if you will, June 2nd through 4th. And we do have a phone number there for you. For those who want to call in and maybe have some additional questions, maybe you are ready to go ahead and order. We do, this class is coming up quick, and they do fill up very quickly. So we've put some seats aside for that. So 888-980-9240 would be the phone number. If you prefer to do that online, you can also see the website down at the bottom, which is noteschool.com/3-day-classes/POP, which stands for the Power of Paper training class. So good opportunity, I think, for most people on the webinar tonight. I think they were from the Texas area. Is that correct, Eddie?
Yep. These are all folks that I met with at Quest. That I just did a class with them the other day, and this was a super duper audience, and they said, give us something, Eddie. We want to act on this. So I promised them I'd put together a webinar. And I did, and this is what we're getting from it. So thrilled that you guys are on with us, and this next level that we're going to take you through is going to start unveiling all these opportunities, as you heard me relate to in the live training, and as we have today, when we refer to as a deal architect. How do you position things that's serving this underserved market, which is so big right now? So you guys see how to sign up. You know how to act on it. It's really important that you do that. Kevin, there's one more thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
And that is, somebody says, well, you know, I'm thinking I want to wait.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so let's talk about what later means. Later. Yeah, that's later. You know what later is one of the most abused drugs we have available to us, and it is, because we're all guilty of it. Mm-hmm. and the reason is because we believe, it kind of makes us think that we're really going to things you know, they'll go away, and why that's so important is because when we say later, when we say it, we think we are actually going to go do it later. And what usually happens, Kevin?
Well, that's when they do it later, if ever. And I think what this means is that you kind of close it off in your mind, go, I'll do it later. And then you've really just kind of shut that door and opportunity. And especially, you know, with this event being right around the corner here in Texas, boy, you don't get that opportunity too often. So having the ability to see Eddie for an hour and a half or so, and then this conversation for some time with you today, and just imagine what we can do in 3 days, and we'll take you to a whole different level out there. So yeah, pushing something off and just saying later, don't be guilty of that on this one. This makes a lot of sense, and especially, of course, doing this through your retirement accounts. I mean, that's one of the big parts that we talk about towards day 3 as well, right?
About 40% of all the notes that we sell are funded with a self-directed retirement account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so let's show them one more time how they're going to sign up.
You bet. There's the phone number, 888-980-9240. And if you prefer on the website, again, it's noteschool.com/3-day-classes/POP, which stands for Power of Paper.
All right, Mr. Shortell, you're awesome. We look forward to seeing each of you at our upcoming class. This is really a big deal for us to show you what we've spent years learning how to do. And as Kevin said, Kevin makes it hit the way he trains and the techniques he uses and communicates with people. People get things that they didn't get before, and that's so fun to do that. So, Mr. Shortell, we appreciate your incredible contributions to NoteSchool. And we're gonna, you guys, as we said, don't say later, say now. Act on this, and I'll give you my personal word. You won't regret it. And so you guys get signed up, and we will look forward to seeing you in Irving, Texas here in a couple of weeks. Have a great day.